fought the fight when I'm pinned down, backed in a corner, silencing terror inside. Oh, bravery feels a lot like fear. Step into that fear and feel that fear. Don't run away, don't back down. It's okay to feel afraid when you find yourself higher off the ground. Don't run away, don't bite your tongue. Be the voice you hear inside your head. Speak up, take action. Don't run away, don't back down. Don't run away.
Thank you for being here. And thank you, Emily Burke, for kicking us off with some music. My name is Beth Wasson, and I am the lead in public programs here at, well, not here, at the Longfellow House next door. Welcome to the final reading in the 2026 We to the People Poetry Series. This is a partnership between the New England Poetry Club, many of which I see your beautiful faces here in the audience today, the National Park Service, and the Friends of the Longfellow House, Washington's headquarters. This year marks the second year of the We to the People Poetry Series and the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. The site next door, the Longfellow House, Washington's headquarters National Historic Site, was a site of colonial slavery and freedom activism. It played a pivotal role in the period of the American Revolution as the 1775 headquarters of the Continental Army, and later became the 19th century home of the poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. And we like to say that the Longfellow House is a place where history was made and where history was written. And this history continues with all of us today. I am so delighted that Marie Howe will be a part of that tradition this afternoon. And what an absolute honor to hear you read today. Before I hand it over to New England Poetry Club, Stephen Rettiner, the president of the New England Poetry Club, to introduce our poet today, I want to share several important thank yous and a few logistics. Deepest gratitude to our incredible neighbors here at the Lincoln Institute for Land Policy for providing this air-conditioned space. Otherwise, we'd all be roasting out in the sun right now. And to our longtime partners, the New England Poetry Club, and Stephen Rettiner for the vision, energy, and collaboration in making the We to the People series possible. Thank you to the Friends of the Longfellow House, Washington's headquarters for their ongoing support of this and many other programs and projects that we do at the site, and to our staff at the Longfellow House and our volunteers who make these events possible each week. Finally, I want to say thanks to you, our community, for being here today. Please continue to join us as we finish up the 2026 Summer Festival. Can't believe we're already in August. With 4 upcoming Sunday afternoons of music. I want to highlight also our Youth Poetry Slam. Ooh. August 23rd, yes, thank you. August 23rd at 11 a.m. Please share with all of the young poets you know in your life. We are looking for young poets with all levels of experience from the ages of 12 to 18 to have an opportunity to compete in a friendly and fun competition over at Longfellow House. And we would love to see you all there also to support them and the future of Cambridge poetry. If you have any questions about that event, our fantastic community programs intern, Anna, is running this event. She's back at the back in that blue polo, and she can offer, snaps for Anna. And she can answer any questions about the slam. On a logistical note, the restrooms are just down the hall to the right. And the visitor center over at the Longfellow House will remain open until 5 o'clock. This reading is going to be followed by a brief reception, and that will be in the little vestibule just behind you. I will have limited copies of Maria Howe's book available for sale and signing after the reading. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Stephen Rettiner, president of the New England Poetry Club, who will introduce the series and the poets.
So as Beth said, this is the 8th and final of We Too event. We began last summer. Our goal was to celebrate in a small way the 250th birthday of our country, but in addition to highlight, to reaffirm that the absolute vital nature of our shared culture and its many voices and visions, and how lives are immeasurably enhanced because of that experience. From the very first reading, I've sort of played the role as a host and a Greek chorus. And what I would do is I'd bring little snippets of poems and quotations to bring voices that could not be here from our poetic forebears, and weave this together into a larger ongoing conversation. We had the words of Phyllis Wheatley and Walt Whitman and our good neighbor, Henry Wadsworth. We had Langston Hughes and Allen Ginsberg and Ada Limon and others, and including comments from past presidents we had, and also social thinkers. And each was reflecting on this democratic experiment, which we all know feels beleaguered at the moment. So our goal was to see if we could create a series of cultural events that reminded us that the diversity of these voices adds strength to our culture. We began with the sweetest poetic phrase in American democracy, which is, we the people. We, a self-governing people. And from that, we attempted to amplify this declaration so that our future and to say that our future cannot be secured unless we find ways of making that we much more inclusive, reflecting the widest variety of voices and visions and backgrounds and family histories, not only in American poetry, but in our shared experience as a whole. So we called it We to the People, as a reminder of and a rejoicing in the possibility of that greater, more encompassing we. Today, I'm going to add one more quotation to that chorus, to a chorus of voices that I've assembled. It's a quote from what I think of as a special American. This is the quotation. Me too. That's the voice of George. Not the founding father George, not the one on the dollar bill, our grandson George. Our grandson is a whip-smart, wildly creative, deeply empathetic child who just wants to be included in, well, everything. Sadly, even at age 10, he's become aware that his future is under threat, and that what was anticipated may no longer be certain, and that the larger, incomprehensible forces may be working to undermine or rewrite that 250-year-old dream. But George's voice, George's eyes looking into mine, that is a reason enough to work hard not only to preserve what we have, but to guarantee that this nation's luminous possibilities would not be thwarted. From that first George to this young one, from my children and grandchildren to yours, and to the generations that follow. We make poetry and music and art to celebrate and the dreams like that, and to make them tangible and worth defending. So we invited for these audiences 11 acclaimed poets. We had two former US poet laureates. We had Robert Pinsky and Tracy K. Smith, and then a range of marvelous voices to follow them, including Richard Blanco and Martha Collins, Major Jackson, Stephanie Burt, Dianelli Antigua, Lloyd Schwartz, Kieran Kapoor, and Massachusetts' very first poet laureate, Reggie Gibson. I'm happy that a number of these faces are in the audience today as well. And then today we will have the grand culmination. We will be able to hear from Pulitzer Prize winning poet Marie Howe, who will read for us, but also receive the 2026 Golden Rose from the New England Poetry Club, which is a Lifetime Achievement Award. It's a tradition that stems back to 1915 at the founding of this club by Amy Lowell, Robert Frost, and Conrad Aiken. And you'll see later on, we'll display the golden rose, this one original rose, and the box that houses it, that each has little teeny brass plaques naming all the poets who have received this honor. So many so that now we have to build a box to contain the box, to contain the rose, and keep on adding names. And we think of this as a tangible thing that contains our future and heralds the next generation of poets. So we also invited musicians to every one of the events because it was a way of invoking the muse and also deepening our attention. I love the fact that music, sometimes unspoken music today with words, music opens up a type of listening that maybe we don't have access to any other way. And for the musicians today, I didn't get to formally introduce, but let me introduce now the woman you got to hear. Elizabeth Burke is a singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and a passionate musical educator, founder of the Glenburn Music Studio in Arlington, Mass. Elizabeth holds a Master of Music degree in classical violin from the Longy School of Music and performs across genres including jazz, bluegrass, old-time, gypsy swing, and improvisational music. Working with notable music producers Zachariah Hickman and David Brophy, Elizabeth will be releasing her first studio album of original songs within the coming months. At each We Two session, I invited the musicians to choose one piece of Americana, some musical piece that everybody knows, but then to have them reinterpret it in light of what we now know today, our 21st century perspective. And we heard, if you look at the musical pieces that you heard highlighted, they are a family scrapbook, an album that tells you who America is. I'll give you some of the examples. We had America the Beautiful, and also This Land Is Your Land. We had the African-American spiritual Deep River, and then the blues, God Bless the Child. We heard A Love Supreme, and then also A Change Is Gonna Come. So I'm going to bring Elizabeth back for one more performance, but this time she's going to switch instruments, and she's going to choose one of those themes, one of which I think of as being central to We Two the People, which is about hope, that despite the current storms, something better is still lying ahead. So let me welcome back to the microphone, Elizabeth Burke.
So my name is Elizabeth Burke, and I'm a singer-songwriter, violin, fiddler lady in the area. And I thought I'd sing some songs for you because I think music with words is a really great bridge to have our ordinary life outside. And now we're coming in, getting ready to hear this amazing poetry, and I think I wanted to set the mood. So this song is called For You. They're all original songs, and it's a little escape into the perfect night where we're not late, we're not early, we're just hopping into this moment, just like today. Catching the sun's sleep at the end of day, we watch it fall, we watch it fall, falling down, vanishing colors, sky fades, unfolding the night, holding the night, holding us safe. We're right on time. We're right on time. Right on time. been the same. We find our place. It hasn't changed. We haven't changed. I drink in the words you say. They swallow me whole. They melt me away. You melt me away. I melt away. We're right on time. We're right on time. Right on time. We're hanging on starlight. It shimmers like rain, pouring in, making us whole. You reach for my hand, I glance to your face. We linger this way, linger this way, linger this way. We're right on time. We're right on time. Right on time. Catching the sun's sleep at the end of day. We watch it fall. We watch it fall. And right on time. Thank you. I should do a quick note. I love mixing genres, as Stephen said, so I'm going to get to my medley of Americana songs, but it's a little bit like an Americana I Spy musical version, but they're in there, I promise.
When I was much younger, I once had a family member challenge me, what good is poetry? He said he knew what good doctors were, and farmers, and plumbers. He knew what good they brought to the world. But poets? I think he was questioning, and this is a quote, what's a smart man like you doing wasting his life on something like that? I don't think I was able to articulate a good answer back then. But thinking today about the poet who I'm about to introduce, I may be able to offer a better response. What good is it? Why is it needed? Simple answer. Because we are human. Because sometimes the sheer tonnage of unresolved memory that we're all carrying threatens to crush us. Sometimes the barely acknowledged longing that we've been nursing since our youngest days pulls at us with such a dizzying intensity, we feel the need to turn our faces away from even those who know us best. And sometimes the startling beauty of a summer sky after a storm, or a compelling melody, or a beloved's gaze creates an experience of such abundance, we feel we can no longer contain ourselves. To my mind, this is when the lyric impulse makes itself known and a poem erupts. But if we don't yet feel we are capable of such a thing on our own, then at least we can turn to the poets whose work seems to be reflecting our voice and our song and our dream that we imagine for ourselves. Spending an hour inside their pages makes us feel that we are working out our entanglements and opening up new paths for the days forward. When someone asks me to explain what actual purpose poetry serves, I steer them to a poet like Marie Howe. Since her first collection, The Good Thief, was published in 1988, selected by Margaret Atwood for the National Poetry Series, she has been building a body of work that demonstrates that poetry is far more than intellectual performance and creative bravado. It is a tool, at first for the poet and then for the readers, where we can more deeply participate in a moment and contend with our history and reclaim that which, on darker days, we fear that we cannot possibly deserve, yet we know we need unequivocally. Deepened attention is always paramount. Marie herself has said, quote, "This might be the most difficult task for us in postmodern life, not to look away from what is actually happening, to put down the iPod and the email and the phone, to look long enough so that we can look through it like a window." And look she does, looking with And look, she does, looking with a precise eye and generous lyric voice, creating windows through which we, too, might discover our own love, our own grief, waiting for us. Marie is the author of a half-dozen compelling volumes of poetry, including Magdalene, longlisted for the National Book Award, and The Kingdom of Ordinary Time, that was a finalist for the Los Angeles Book Prize. Her collection, What the Living Do, can be seen as an encompassing elegy to her brother John, who died of AIDS, and led her to co-editing the anthology In the Company of My Solitude, American Writing from the AIDS Pandemic. And just this last year, Marie's new and selected poems, offering a panorama of her 4-decade literary journey, was the winner of the 2025 Pulitzer Prize for Poetry. A committed educator as well, Marie has taught at Tufts University, Dartmouth College, and currently is on the faculty of both New York University and Sarah Lawrence College. Her Wikipedia page unscrolls with a long list of awards and fellowships that she's earned, but among those many honors, I'll just mention that she served as New York's Poet Laureate and was elected a chancellor to the Academy of American Poets. She is also the poet in residence at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine in New York City. In her poem, My Dead Friends, she writes, quote, "My friends are dead who were the arches, the pillars of my life, the structural relief when the world gave none. Yet, through her poetry, their voices endure, and their dreams spread like seeds on inky wind. Now, Marie herself has become a pillar and an archway through which we happily pass on the way to our own hoped-for days. She has made herself a good friend to poets and poetry. For this reason and many more, the New England Poetry Club is delighted to award her the 2026 Golden Rose Award for Lifetime Achievement, and to inscribe her name on the wooden box that houses our poetic history and calls to the next century of American poets. So please join me in welcoming today Marie Howe.
Stephen, thank you so much. Stephen, you have resuscitated the New England Poetry Club, and you have done such great, life-giving work. Thank you so much for what you've done. Just really, look at this. Thank you all for coming. I'm so moved to see you all. I'm sort of falling through space because I'm seeing people I've known over the years, and you know, it's overwhelming and wonderful and overwhelming. Let me just try and get my stuff together here. Okay. I don't want to keep you too long. Do everybody need to stand up and just wiggle or anything? You all right? You do? You need to wiggle in your seat? There's some wigglers on this seat. Okay, let me see if I can see. I have to say that I came up into my life in Cambridge. I lived here from 1983 to 93, 94. And those days really shaped me and influenced me, and beyond description. And I have so many people I have to mention. I have to mention Osgold Melnichek. I have to mention Stuart Deschelles. I have to mention Stephen Kramer, Lucy Brock-Broido, Tom Slay, Stephen Tapscott, Martha Collins, Terry Cater, Mary Carr, Derek Walcott, Seamus Heaney, Frank Bedard. I'm looking at you. My God, I can't believe. Yeah, you. Lloyd. And Gail Mazer. I mean, there was a community here in that decade. I know there is now, but that was so rich and so encouraging. It just really meant the world to me, quite literally. So my dead friends, and there are many of us here who are here in spirit, but are no longer in body. So I want to actually begin with a poem that speaks of my brother John. I just need a drink here. I was one of 9 children. All my mother's sisters had 10 kids too. And so there were a lot of us around all the time. And Johnny was the second youngest person in my family. I was the second oldest. We were very good friends, but everybody loved John. He was a magical creature, and he contracted AIDS in the 80s when people died, often quickly and terribly. So I want to read a poem that will bring Johnny into the room and will remind me of what Elizabeth was talking about, which is the moment we're in right now. Let me see if I can find it. I'm sorry, I'm not a Post-its kind of person. I wish I were, but I'm not. It's a poem called The Gate. I had no idea that the gate I would step through to finally enter this world would be the space my brother's body made. He was taller than me, a young man, but grown, himself by then, done at 28, having folded every sheet, rinsed every glass he would ever rinse under the cold and running water. This is what you have been waiting for, he used to say to me. And I would say, what? And he would say, this, holding up my cheese and mustard sandwich. And I would say, what? And he would say, this, sort of looking around. All of us in this room have people in our hearts who are no longer here and who are within us, though. We carry them with us now, which is, of course, a great privilege and a joy. And so I want to read one more poem from What the Living Do, and that's the title poem. So let's just, each of us, think of the people we could not live without, that we do live without, embody, and bring them into the room here, because this is in a form of a letter to my brother John, but it could be to Lucy, it could be to Jason, it could be to many people as well. What the Living Do. Johnny, the kitchen sink has been clogged for days. Some utensil probably fell down there. And the Drano won't work, but smells dangerous. And the crusty dishes have piled up, waiting for the plumber I still haven't called. This is the everyday we spoke of. It's winter again. The sky is a deep, headstrong blue, and the sunlight pours through the open living room windows because the heat's stuck on too high in here, and I can't turn it off. For weeks now, driving or dropping a bag of groceries in the street, the bag breaking, I've been thinking, this is what the living do. And yesterday, hurrying along those wobbly bricks in the Cambridge sidewalk, spilling my coffee down my wrist and sleeve, I thought it again and again later when buying a hairbrush. This is it. Parking, slamming the car door shut in the cold, what you call that yearning, what you finally gave up. We want the spring to come and the winter to pass. We want whoever to call or not call, a letter, a kiss. We want more and then more of it. But there are moments walking when I catch a glimpse of myself in the window glass, say the window of the corner video store, and I'm gripped by a cherishing so deep for my own blowing hair, chapped face, and unbuttoned coat that I'm speechless. I am living. I remember you. So Lucy Brock-Broido, who helped me with this poem, this is the kind of help we got in those days. The original line was, "Johnny, the kitchen sink has been clogged for days. Some fork probably fell down there." And Lucy said, "You can't say fork. It's too funny. You have to say something, you have to say utensil, that's it. Some utensil probably fell down there." She's right? Lou. We read everything to each other. Gosh. So here's a poem called After the Movie. It happens in New York City. And it was after the movie, The Talented Mr. Ripley, but the Matt Damon version. Young Matt, Cambridge Matt, right? Aren't we proud of him? Cambridge High, there he is, living his life, being Odysseus. No, it's so great. He's a good guy, He's singing about Howard Zinn now. He's just, he's a good Cambridge guy. So this is a poem called After the Movie, and it's about that movie. So if you saw it, try to conjure it. But my friend Michael and I are walking home arguing about the movie. He says that he believes a person can love someone and still be able to murder that person. I say, no, that's not love. That's attachment. Michael says, that was love. No, that's love. You can love someone, then come to a day when you're forced to think it's him or me, think me, and kill him. I say, then it's not love anymore. Michael says, it was love up till then, though. I say, maybe we mean different things by the same word. Michael says, humans are complicated. Love can exist even in the murderous heart. I say that what he might mean by love is desire. Love is not a feeling, I say. And Michael says, then what is it? We're walking along West 16th Street, a clear, unclouded night, and I hear my voice repeating what I used to say to my husband. Love is action, I used to say to him. Simone Weil said that when you really love, you are able to look at someone you want to eat and not eat them. Janis Joplin says, take another little piece of my heart right now. Meister Eckhart says that as long as we love any image, we are doomed to live in purgatory. Michael and I stand on the corner of 6th Avenue saying goodnight. I can't drink enough of the tangerine spritzer I've just bought. Again and again, I bring the cold can to my mouth and suck the stuff from the hole the flip top made. What are you doing tomorrow? Michael says. But what I think he's really saying is, you are too strict, Marie. You are a nun. Then I think, do I love Michael enough to allow him to think these things of me, even if he's not thinking them? Above Manhattan, the moon wanes and the sky turns clearer and colder, although the days after the solstice have started to lengthen. We both know the winter has only begun. This poem really should be called After the Divorce, not After the Movie. Just saying. So just to give Michael some credit. Michael is not my husband, but a good friend. Okay, so I had this whole plan, and now that you're with me, it's all changing. From Magdalene, I grew up a Roman Catholic, but a lefty Roman Catholic, a Dan Berrigan kind of Catholic, which is a good thing to be in the 60s and 70s, and still is. I went to Dan Berrigan's funeral in New York City. Was anybody there? Dan Berrigan owned one shirt by the time he died. One shirt, one T-shirt, and one pair of pants. And every night he would wash out that T-shirt, and it would dry, and he would wear it the next day. And so when this amazing group of people paraded from the Catholic Worker to oh gosh, what's the name of the church? The name problem at my age, right? I'm going to think of it in a minute, but and at the offertory, they carried up this shirt like a banner. Isn't that extraordinary? No, it was not at all. It wasn't a big cathedral. It's the one on 16th Street. St. Francis Xavier. St. Francis Xavier, you help me. Thank you. It's St. Francis Xavier on West 16th Street. So these stories infuse my poems, you know, and I was ashamed of that for a long time. I thought people are going to get the wrong idea. They're going to think I'm this religious person, and maybe I am, actually, as it turns out. Not religious, but someone who's very interested in how these stories, these myths, open up to help us understand our lives. So Magdalene was someone who, as many women, I'm sure, feel, was misrepresented for centuries. Whoever she was a strong woman who was able to follow a teacher and hang with the men who were his students. And she was a student as well. To me, she seemed like a woman who was trying to integrate her life, her sexuality, her spirituality, her subjectivity in a patriarchal culture where that was very difficult to do. And all we know about her, besides, unless you read the Gnostic Gospels, is that she was possessed by 7 devils. So, how many people here have been possessed by devils? Come on. For example, I'm addicted to Instagram now. That is a devil. It's all animals. I mean, it's benign, but it steals my life. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And there are more serious devils, of course. Hold on a second. I'm trying to find her devils. Here she is. So here's a poem called Magdalene and the 7 Devils. She's talking to us about them. The first was that I was very busy. The second, I was different from you. Whatever happened to you could not happen to me. Not like that. The third, I worried. The fourth, envy, disguised as compassion. The fifth was that I refused to consider the quality of life of the aphid. The aphid disgusted me, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. The mosquito, too, its face, and the ant, its bifurcated or trifurcated body. Okay, the first was that I was so busy. The second, that I may make the wrong choice because I had decided to take that plane that day, that flight before noon, so as to arrive early, and I shouldn't have wanted that. The third was that if I walked past a certain place on the street, the house would blow up. The fourth was that I was made of guts and blood with a thin layer of skin lightly thrown over the whole thing. The fifth was that the dead seemed more alive to me than the living. The sixth, if I touched my right arm, I had to touch my left arm. And if I touched the left arm a little harder than I'd first touched the right, then I had to retouch the left and then touch the right again, so it would be even. The seventh, I knew I was breathing the expelled breath of everything that was alive, and I couldn't stand it. I wanted a sieve, a mask, I hate this word, a cheesecloth to breathe through that would trap it. Whatever was inside everyone else that entered me when I breathed in. No, that was the first one. The second was that I was so busy. I had no time. How had this happened? How had our lives gotten like this? The third was that I couldn't eat food if I really saw it, distinct, separate from me in a bowl or on a plate. Okay, the first was that I could never get to the end of the list. The second was that the laundry was never finally done. The third was that no one knew me, although they thought they did, and that if people thought of me as little as I thought of them, then what was love? The fourth was that I didn't belong to anyone. I wouldn't allow myself to belong to anyone. The fifth was that I knew none of us could ever know what we didn't know. The sixth was that I projected onto others what I myself was feeling. The seventh was the way my mother looked when she was dying. The sound she made, her mouth wrenched to the right and cupped open so as to take in as much air, the gurgling sound, so loud we had to speak louder to hear each other over it, and that I couldn't stop hearing it. Years later, grocery shopping, crossing the street. No, not the sound. It was her body's hunger, finally evident, what our mother had hidden all her life. For months I dreamt of knuckle bones and roots, the slabs of sidewalk pushed up like crooked teeth by what grew underneath. The underneath. That was the first devil. It was always with me, and that I didn't think you, if I told you, would understand any of this. Oh, Magdalene. I'm just going to read a few new poems, and then. So these are poems written after 70, and these first poems were written in my 30s. Prologue. In the middle of my life, just past the middle, walking along the street with our little dog Jack on a leash. Okay, just past the late middle. In what some might call early old age, on a street crowded with children and tourists, my father dead, my mother dead, my young husband gone from me and grown older, a father, a husband now to someone else. Jason dead, John dead, Jane and Stanley and Lucy and Billy and Tony, and now Richard dead. I came to the edge, and I did not know the way. So how many people here believe in reincarnation? Not very many. Maybe, like... How many here... Who said that? How many people here believe in heaven? That's interesting. Here's a poem called Reincarnation, for those of us who might believe. Sometimes, when I look at our dog Jack, I think he might be my radical American history professor. Come back to make amends. He gazes at me so sorrowfully. What is it, Jack, I say? Why do you look like that? But Jack doesn't answer. He lies down and rests his head on his paws. Black hair covered nearly all of that man's body, thick under his blue Oxford shirt when I put my hand there. Perhaps that accounted for the bow tie, the pipe, the tweed cap. This time, I can teach him to sit and to stay. Stay, I say to Jack, who looks at the treat in my hand and then at me, and then at the treat, and then at me, and he stays. Come, I say to Jack, but Jack does not always come. Sometimes he sits and looks at me a long time, as when my professor would lean back in his chair, draw on his pipe, and gaze at me. But when I hold a treat, Jack comes, and I remember how the professor would lick dripping honey from the jar, lick peanut butter from the knife. A little stubborn, our dog Jack, shy, we thought, until the morning my daughter jumped on my bed and Jack sprang at her growling. And the next morning when he rushed toward her growling and bit her skirt and tore it and bit her and broke her skin. And when I went to collar him, bit me, snarling and bit and bit. That's when I was pretty sure he was my history professor. The vet said this happens more often than you'd imagine. He must always be tethered, she said, and he can't until he can be trusted. He must learn that you and your daughter come first, and no more couch, and no more sleeping in the bed with you, Mama, not ever. I finally left that man so late at night it was nearly dawn, picking up my boots by the door, stepping down the 2 flights, then running toward the car. What can I say? Jack may be my American history professor come back after all these years to make amends, or Jack may be actually himself our dog. And I mean that in a good way, not in a bad way. So I think, I'll just read 2 more poems. Let's see. Does anybody here know who Maria Popova is? She sends out what used to be called brain pickings, is now the marginalian, and she is a great champion of combining not nature, she would never use that word, science and poetry. And she's put out a book called The Universe in Verse. It's very beautiful. She gets, so she asked me to write something for The Universe in Verse, and I couldn't do it, but, and then this came because I've been trying to read Stephen Hawking, and all those guys, Carlos Ravelli, and, astrophysics for people in a hurry, what was that, Jurassic Tyson, trying to understand the Big Bang. How many people believe in the Big Bang? That once everything that is this extremely dense, tiny, 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 massive matter. That's the singularity. So here's the poem. Do you sometimes want to wake up to the singularity we once were? So compact, nobody needed a bed or food or money. Nobody hiding in the school bathroom or home alone, pulling open the drawer where the pills are kept. For every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you. Remember? There was no nature, no them, no test to determine if the elephant grieves her calf or if the coral reef feels pain. Trashed oceans don't speak English or Farsi or French. Would that we could wake up to what we were when we were ocean. And before that, to when sky was earth and animal was energy and rock was liquid and stars were space and space was not at all, nothing, before we came to believe humans were so important, before this awful loneliness. Can molecules recall it? What once was before anything happened? No I, no we, no one, no was, no verb, no noun, only a tiny, tiny dot, brimming with is. All, everything, home. And thank you. And I want to finish with a poem called, it's a hymn, and it was inspired by a wonderful poem by Derek Walcott called the season of
phantasmal peace.
Phantasmal peace. The season of phantasmal peace. Which is a very different poem from what I'm about to read, but it's so gorgeous. I hope you read it. He imagines that all the birds of the world, each of them picks up a shadow, and they pull it up away from the earth. And every shadow, the shadow of the plant on a sill, the shadow of the big buildings, everything. So all of the shadows get pulled up. And it's this really gorgeous, gorgeous poem. But it got me thinking about imagining the impossible and how important it is for us to do right now, to imagine the impossible, to imagine the foolish thing, to be foolish, to imagine, for example, what we want to happen to our country instantly, right now, what we want to happen, how we want to change our relationship to the rest of the living world, whatever. Sorry, I keep flipping and losing the poem again. So anyway, this just came. It really was one of those poems that came kind of through me. So I don't know what to make of it, but it makes me happy to hear it, if you will. And it's called The Hymn, Hymn. It began as an almost inaudible hum, low and long for the solar winds and the dim galaxies. A hymn growing louder for the moon and the sun. A song without words for the snow falling, for snow, conceiving rain, the rivers rushing without shame, the hum turning again higher into a riff of ridges, peaks hard as consonants, summits and praise for the rocky faults and crust and crevices, then down to the roots and rocks and burrows, the lakes, skittery surfaces, wells, oceans, breaking waves, the salt deep, the warm bodies moving within it, the cold deep, the deep underneath gleaming. Some of us rising as the planet turned into dawn, some lying down as it turned into dark. As each of us rested, another woke, standing among the cast-off cartons and automobiles. We left the factories and stood in the parking lots, left the subways and stood on the sidewalks, in the bright offices, in the cluttered yards, in the farmed fields, in the mud of the shanty towns, breaking into harmonies we had not known possible, finding the chords as we found our true place, singing in a million keys the human hymn of praise for every something else there is and ever was and will be. The song growing louder and rising. Listen, I too believed it was a dream. Thank you.
One is the official award of the 2026 Golden Rose Prize to her, Marie Howe. So that's from you. by the actual golden roses. We'll let her bring back to her hotel room to adorn them too. This is the box of the golden rose. And inside, we'll open that box, so you'll actually see the rose and the oldest plaques. But if you look right here on the new box here, you'll see Marie Howe joining this list of great American poets. Yep, we'll put that for you too. You'll see that? We'll let you come up and take a look at this too.
I want to imagine Robert Frost, Amy Lowell, and Conrad Aiken in the same room.
Yeah, that's right. and hatching a plan to be able to do something like that as well too. So here's my last bit of business for today. A little first thank yous. Thank you for the two wonderful performances. One more round of applause for Marie Howe and Elizabeth Burke. By the way, since I'm sitting in the front, it's only now I get to really stop and look back and realize what a great overflow crowd. Isn't it wonderful to have poetry filling the room and spilling out to the hallway too? Thank the Longfellow House and also the Friends of the Longfellow. They support all these wonderful programs. We've had a partnership with them for many years, but these last 2 summers are the grandest experiment we've had together. I'm so grateful to them. I'm grateful especially for the Somerville Media Center, who's been filming all of our programs. And I say that especially because if you missed any of the 8 programs, any of the poets and musicians that I've mentioned today, go to our website, nepoetryclub.org/we2. And there's a lot about the We2 project, but then you can scroll down and links to all of the videos so you get to be able to watch them again too. I want to thank, as I do each week, I want to thank you because of the wonderful listening that you've brought to this. The fact that we gather together in this way. Your deep listening brings out the best of the poets and the musicians we've brought here. And my hope is your deep listening means that you will carry your part of this conversation away from us today. Because as some of us have said today, love is action, making things happen because of what we feel. The last thing I'm going to say is because this is the last and the Golden Rose celebration, we have food and drink for you out in the lobby right here. That's just another excuse to stay around and chat with each other, chat with the poets, chat with the musicians. Marie will be here to sign books. If you want to learn more about or perhaps even join and support the work of the New England Poetry Club, you can come see Doug Holder at this table over here. If you want to make sure you find out more about Elizabeth and her music, I believe she'll have a sign-up sheet there or a little way to get on her roles as well too. I think that's everything. Let me just say this. We, too, made this project quite wonderful. I'm so delighted by what we've been able to do together. I'm less delightful, more delighted. And will take this memory with me for a good long time. I hope you will as well, because that sense of we is very powerful. Thank you again.
We want it all.